to this office. We didn't know each other. You know, there's so many other factors that play into like disliking each other, you know, production, you know what I mean? And like things like that. But then once you get to know people, like I love Jarvis. And I think that I had her completely misunderstood from season one with like her vocabulary. I thought she was intentionally trying to make me like, you know, feel dumb, but she wasn't. She was like, I'm an attorney. And like, I almost get embarrassed like when I use these big words because I can't think of a smaller one to use. So it's just my vocabulary. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, she's just, you know, once you can relate to her on that level, like I totally see why everybody loves her. I think she's amazing.
Do you feel that Polly and Hall are the mean girls of the office?
I don't like to call names. You know, I won't call them mean girls whatsoever. I mean, they just I'll leave that up to the viewers to decide, you know.
And I'm not calling them names either. I love them, but I love you all. I mean, I cannot choose sides, but you know, I just didn't, know if you did. What what about, we also saw, Polly and Tyler, came out that they shared this kiss in the office. It was supposed to be a pack, but it was really more than just a pack. Kayla really brought a lot of this out. I mean, she really believes she deserves an apology. She's really feels there's a double standard, based on everything that happened last season. Like, do you feel that Kayla deserves an apology?
There was a scene that was cut in Cabo where I actually sat down with Polly. We were on that yacht and I asked her to apologize to Kayla only because I would like all of us women to, on the cast, to, we don't have to always get along or else there will be no show, but to come to a common ground on that level. Because if you remember, I was in that scene also where Kayla was came down on really hard about the Tyler situation. And I came to her and let her know heartfeltly, you know, how I felt and the things I agreed with and the things I didn't agree with. But I also let her know that I was rooting for her and that I wanted her to win. So I tried to push for that apology. Polly turned it down. She said no. She just said that it was two different things. And I'm like, regardless of like tomato, you know what I mean? I would just like to see us all kind of like come on one common ground and say, okay, I see where you're coming from. Like, okay, I can see how that hurt you. You know what I mean? I would have loved to have that dialogue open up because I think we wouldn't be where we are right now as a cast. But then again, it makes for great TV. So
Do you think it's two separate things, or is it exactly the same thing per se?
that was the biggest thing for me on the show was that it was clearly a gray area, right? Because technically he was still married. However, he was filed for separation. So for me, it did feel just a little hypocritical just because he was mid-divorce. He wasn't fully single. So it was just like, to me, it kind of just felt tasteless. You know, and again, that's just each person's opinion. And that was just my opinion at the time. But I was also stepping into, if because I'm a wife, if this were my husband, like how I would be, you know, just from the outside looking in.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, the fans seem pretty divided on this. A lot of people are like I said earlier, everyone is thinking this, but Brandi, at least you're speaking up and voicing your opinion and you are kind of taking the brunt of it. And then there's a lot of fans that are like, man, Brandi, you are just judgy. Like, what do you say to the people that say you're so judgy, Brandi? And I'm not saying it, but what do you say to those people?
I'm not judgy. I was being honest every time that I was asked. You know what I mean? And if you really pay attention, it wasn't me offering, other than the first time at the lunch, I offered my opinion. But after that, it was more so me trying to distance myself because, for one, I knew that was a storyline. For two, I didn't want to get tied up with that storyline because I didn't agree with it. So why would I be sitting here like at lunch with the girls that I'm like, I don't agree with the actions that they're doing, right? So that's why I was vocal about it. So I mean, was I judgy or was I just being real and honest about it, about my feelings, you know?
You see how it works. You just mention it and you're like, wait a second, I'm being dragged into a whole storyline I want nothing to do with.
Oh yeah, that's what happens.
Speaking of your client calling you and, I mean, with, Hall and Tyler and, we don't really know the status of their relationship today because they've been very vague in the press about it. But do you think like that or just inter-office romances in general, like, does that affect their ability to serve their O group clients?
You know, honestly, we're kind of all in competition with each other. So it only helps me. Like, hey, go ahead. You know what I mean? I tried to give you the heads up. I try to let you know it looks messy. However, I just don't like the public eye during the mid-divorce controversy. I think that made us look messy and made us look sloppy. It was giving us negative press. But if people date, go ahead, whatever. Like, you're so wrapped up in that like, I'll go after the listings. You know what I mean? So like, for me, I don't really care as far as that. I did have something to say just because that particular time was horrible with him going through the mid-divorce and like the press speculating around it.
Right. Like if that affects your ability to do your job, have at it. Just more clients for Brandi.
Yeah, exactly. Keep going.
Well, we did see, your tension this season with Hall come to, it kind of reached its boiling point in Cabo. I mean, Hall kind of said, it kind of came out that she thought you were going to kind of approach her and like maybe implied you were going to get physical. Like, how shocked were you that that came out from her, that kind of narrative just from her came out?
That situation was really heated, as you can see. And I walked away from it just because I will not allow myself, I just hold myself to a higher standard. And that's why you see me apologize later. And that's why you see me have the conversation I had with my sister where I'm just like disappointed in myself. And it's not even because I felt like I just did something so wrong. It was just that I let myself get out of character. And like I was upset with myself for that. You know what I mean? And yeah, it was surprising to go back and watch it. But hopefully this opens up the conversation, you know what I mean? And like hopefully some education comes from this, and it's a learning opportunity rather than like, bashing Hall. It's just that's just what I can hope for.
I understand. Like, I think the same way. Like, anytime I lose my cool with someone, it takes me so much to get there, and it's so rare. And then when it's over, I'm like, I'm only mad at myself. I am truly mad at nobody else in this situation that I got there because I don't do this.
Exactly. And it was so rare for me. And I was just like, and to be completely honest, I forgot the cameras were there. So when I snapped out of it and realized the cameras were there, I was like, get out of here. I ripped my mic off so fast because I was just like, what just happened?
Do you think, yes, exactly. Do you think Hall owes you an apology at all for that situation? I mean, like, it seems like you have apologized and you're good with it. Do you think she owes you an apology in any way?
I mean, of course I would have liked that, you know what I mean? But like I don't live my life like waiting around for people to apologize. That's between them and, their whatever issues that they have, with themselves. Like I would have loved that, you know what I mean? But if she doesn't feel like she has anything to apologize for, then, I only want genuine apologies. I don't want somebody just doing it just because, the fans are now on your back. Like I wanted, for her to really feel my heart, because people who know me know that I'm not a fighter. I'm really a lover. You know what I mean? And I do get a little, I have a voice, and it might get a little, sassy, but like my intentions are always like in the right place.
You're too busy selling real estate.
Yes, period.
We'll clear this up because I watched the whole show in one sitting and I'm still confused. Okay, so we talked about Polly and Tyler. I mean, Lauren is even speaking up on this, and Lauren's normally quiet. Like, is there a video? And if so, did you see it? Because I'm confused, because you said you saw it, you said you didn't see it. I left that whole thing saying, like, I don't know if it really matters if there's a video, but I'm just curious.
Ugh, and I got myself caught up in Videogate. Boy, oh boy. So yes, there is one. And that's how we actually knew that it really happened between Polly and Tyler before Polly even admitted it. So there is one. However, when Tyler asked me, I told a white lie because I knew that this was going to be a storyline.